Okay, so I've come out tonight to try and see if we can demonstrate how powerful the PETZL Actik Core torch is. It's a bit windy, so I'm not sure how well the sound will come out. This light here is my Cree torch, which is really very powerful, but it's 3 years old and it was time to change. It was also very heavy, so I wanted to go for a lighter one, but one that, even if it wasn't as powerful, would be good enough for trail running. So here we are on a trail, and we'll just see how good the PETZL is. So it's got 3 settings, so we'll take the Cree torch away. So this here is the lowest setting. It's the 5 lumens, and of course the torch, the camera rather, is going to find it hard to focus. There's very little there. If I was to tilt the camera down, you would maybe see a bit of movement just on the trail. In practice, it's probably good enough to walk out of the woods, but I certainly wouldn't rely on it. Okay, so second one is the 100 lumens. That's good enough to run with. Gary Robbins, who is a well-respected trail runner in the States, carries a 100 lumen torch. If you use this, it's good for 10 hours, which unless you're doing ultras, which could be 12 hours in the dark, that's going to be plenty good enough. We'll switch it on to you need to, this is tricky. There we go. Right, so I did say in the other video, which was the review of what I liked and what I didn't like, that the switching mechanism on the torch isn't very good, particularly when you're going to the 350 lumens. So this is now 350 lumens. That is shining up a good, 20 meters of the trail, and plenty good enough to see. If you shine it, I'll lift the camera up a little bit to show you the distance. So yeah, I think that's definitely good enough for a trail run. I'll try and show you the distance view on the, so that's 100 lumens, and you can just see it down on the ground there. You can maybe make out the trees. The camera is a little bit darker than it is in reality, and I can see the trees in the distance with this, even though the camera doesn't actually make a brilliant representation of it. So we'll go back to the 350, and you can definitely see the difference there. So 350, you can definitely see into the distance. If you're running, of course, if it's technical trails, you would certainly want to show the near ground a bit better. So we'll tilt down, and that is really pretty good. The Actik Core is on this setting. It gives you 2 hours, although I actually got it to run for 2 hours 10 minutes when I did the test. That's with the core battery. The core battery will maintain the brightness until the battery runs out, and then it just goes. If you use the AAA rechargeable or ordinary batteries, then the light degrades as the battery is discharged, so it doesn't suddenly cut off. I did a test this afternoon, and it lasted for, again, about 2 hours. It was still a good usable light, although it was noticeably dimmer after the 2 hours. After 2.5 hours, I wouldn't rely on it. So even though notionally the batteries would last for 4 hours, the usable light is really only good for maybe 2¼ hours. I would be saying that it's about the same as the PETZL Core battery. Okay, so hope you found that useful, and it gives you a good idea of what you can expect. Really good in the foreground. When you go to the distance, it's still very usable. It's not giving you the same penetration in the distance as the Cree. I'll bring the Cree torch out again and just show you just how good that is. But you know, what you have to appreciate is that the Cree is probably a good 1,000 lumens. It really is a fantastic torch in terms of brightness, but it's very heavy, and I think the Actik Core is definitely a good compromise between being compact and being light and giving you a good light. In terms of how it compares with the other PETZL head torches, with the exception of the Now Plus. The Now Plus is 720 to 750 round about there, certainly in excess of 700 lumens. That's the only one which is more powerful than the Actik Core. Even though some of the other head torches are much more expensive than this one, over £100 compared to this one's £50, they tend to only have 200 to 300 lumens. When I did tests with some colleagues' torches, this one was definitely noticeably brighter than theirs. There are, of course, the specialist lights, which will give you 500 plus, but again they're much more expensive. So I think my conclusion is that of all the head torches that PETZL has, unless you want to go to over £100, then the Actik Core Plus is it's definitely worth the £50, and it's a much better light than even some of the more expensive ones. Okay, hope that's useful. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to make sure you get notifications of all new content.